Hi guys, it's KJ from For Life Coaching, and today is a special treat. I actually have one of my favorite persons that I'm going to interview. Today we're just going to talk about, moving forward, and the continuum. So basically, Mr. Katz, I went to school with his son, Jared, at First Dignity High School. And Jared was, like I said, Jared and Mark were two people that I was closer to on the basketball team. So a little bit about Mr. Katz and why he is so super duper special is because Mr. Katz, when he was in high school, he's from Long Island, the Long Island area, New York. He's from, begins with a W.
Well, I lived in Williston Park, but I went to Mineola High School.
Mineola. Okay, so Williston Park. He's from Williston Park, and he went to Mineola High School, and he's which is in Long Island. And while there, he actually was first team all Nassau County in basketball. He won the Scholastic Coach magazine first team. Okay, yes. First team, and that's Middle Atlantic, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. He was first team for the Long Island Newsday, and he was also first team for the Daily News. He was recruited by 27 universities as a superstar athlete, but out of those 27, he chose the best. He chose UNC-Chapel Hill. And so he was there actually in the 1960s, and he was there when Dean Smith was promoted from assistant coach to head coach. So he was there with Dean Smith's first, please forgive me, with Dean Smith's first head coaching position at UNC-Chapel Hill. So he, a little bit more about him is that he actually, after playing at UNC, he wound up teaching. So he taught in New Jersey. He taught actually in Wayne, New Jersey, Wayne Hills, Wayne Valley High School, Wayne Hills. Wayne Hills is tough for me because that is where they had like a superstar long distance miler who I didn't even come close to in second. I mean, I came second, but she was way ahead of me as far as first. But that is the general gist about Mr. Katz. Mr. Katz is a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal father because, like I said, his son, Jared, is one of my favorite. So, Mr. Katz, welcome to another episode of Fort Life Coaching, NCAA stories, former NCAA athletes' stories of triumph. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Good.
Happy to be talking to you.
Well, listen, I got to get your autograph. I didn't realize that you had all these accolades and won in all these news articles. I mean, Jared always said that you were a really good basketball player, but I didn't realize.
Well, that was a long time ago, but in high school, I did very well in high school. Not so well at UNC, but I did well in high school.
So when you're in high school, what was it like when you opened up the newspaper and saw your name there, or somebody called and told you that they were going to write an article on you, or somebody saw you in the paper? I mean, what were you feeling like?
Well, it made me feel very good. And of course, my parents were very proud of me. And that made me feel even better. So it was a great feeling. And of course, my classmates were very kind to me and nice. And it was good. It was a pleasure.
And when you went to the ice cream shop and you got an ice cream sundae, they gave you an extra scoop of ice cream.
Well, never happened, but yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People knew who I was, and sometimes a parent would say something to me, compliment me, who I really didn't even know who they were.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was I guess you could say I was a big shot, in high school. I according to my classmates at my high school reunions, it didn't go to my head. I was a nice guy, friendly, but it did make me feel very good when those things happened.
Now I see where Jared got it from. The humbleness. So you're in school and you're, people are acknowledging that you've got some great skills with regards to basketball. Are you ever thinking about playing professionally, or people ever encouraging you or telling you, like, I could see you in the pros?
Well, yeah, I was, because I played two sports. I played basketball in high school and baseball. And of course, my dream was to, at that time, to be a professional basketball player. In particular, a Knick. I was a big New York Knicks fan, and I also I had some professional baseball teams interested in me, and so my dream was either baseball or basketball professionally.
Wow. But you chose basketball.
Well, I figured most baseball players were not on the tall side. The biggest baseball player at that time was a pitcher named Gene Conley, who was also a professional basketball player for the Celtics. He was 6'8", but most professional baseball players were not tall, and basketball players are tall.
Wow. So you're being recruited, right? And as I said, there were 27 universities. And one of the things that I've heard recently, Winston-Salem State University won the CIAA tournament for the CIAA conference. And I know that after Winston-Salem State University won that conference, the demand or the enrollment just increased drastically, right? A lot of people want to go to a school where they win. A lot of players want to go to a school that's a winning school. And in 1957, just before you got there, UNC won the NCAA championship, 1957?
That's correct. They beat Kansas.
They beat Kansas, right? And
yes.
With them beating, oh wow, they beat Kansas, and then Coach Smith from Kansas came there. That's really funny.
Well, Coach Smith, who played at Kansas, became an assistant coach at the Air Force Academy.
Right.
And then Frank McGuire, who was the head coach at Carolina, I guess you could say recruited him or asked him to come to Carolina as an assistant. And so Coach Smith came to Carolina. I'm not sure exactly when he came to Carolina before I got there, but he was an assistant when I was a freshman.
Right. Well, I know that Coach Smith played on Kansas's winning team, though I think it was 1952. But so now you've got Coach Smith and you've got Coach McGuire there, right? And Coach McGuire is a winning coach. And so you're looking at these 27 universities. What made you pick? What made you pick UNC out of those universities?
Hold on one sec. I picked Carolina. I went for a visit there, and of course, it was a beautiful campus.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful day. It was in the spring, and but I picked Carolina because I thought that it would be, great to play basketball there, and it had a good academic reputation. My high school coach graduated from Columbia University in New York City, and he told me it was a good school for me to go to. Mm-hmm. So between the beauty of the school, Coach McGuire's recruiting ability, the fact that it was academically a good school and it was well known for basketball, was where I wanted to go to school.
Right. I don't know the specifics for McGuire, but I know for Dean Smith, he had like a 96.6% of students who played basketball for him actually go on to receive their degree. So I do know that, but I'm not really sure about McGuire. But I was going to ask you with McGuire, he's from New York. He's from Manhattan, I believe.
Yes.
And the team, when you were there, I'm just talking about the 61, 62 roster, was about, I think there were there were 8 players, 6 from New York, 1 from Massachusetts, and I think 1 from Pennsylvania. But basically they were Northerners. So you had 8 Northerners out of what, maybe 14 players?
Yeah, 12, 14.
12, 14 players. So 8 were from up north. So even though you were transitioning to a new environment, there was still some of that, I guess, homey feel, because there were a lot of people from New York, would you say?
Yes. Yeah, it was more, a comfort zone. When I first got to Carolina, to tell you the truth, the way it took me a while to be able to clearly understand the Southern drawl, the way people spoke. And I said they spoke too slow, and they said I spoke too fast.
Yes.
So it was an adjustment that way. But yeah, I did feel at home, because there was some of the varsity. Back then, freshmen could not play varsity, but some of the varsity players that I hung around, Doug Moe was from Brooklyn, and Larry Brown was there. He was from Long Island, and York Larisi. Some of the, some of those guys, and they were all from up north.
Right. And McGuire was from up north. So you had a coach, and you
and
you had teammates from up north, and so the transition was not as tough as it may be for some people going to a completely different environment. What was
that part was not tough for me. It was just a matter of you had your teammates, and a lot of the players, as I said, were from up north. There was this adjustment period to getting used to, in a sense, people from the South, the way they spoke, and penny loafers and madras shirts, and it was just a different style of dressing and talking and acting a little bit, that it was different than what I grew up with.
We're from Parsippany, right? So my funny story is with going to school in North Carolina is that while there, everyone says, hey, like if you don't even have to know the person. Everybody just says hi. Everybody's friendly, right? So after spending time in North Carolina with everybody saying hi, I went to New York with my dad, and I was saying hi to people. He's like, come on, stop saying hi to people. You know they don't know who you are. But it's so funny because everybody's so warm and friendly here until you kind of get in that mode, and it takes you, a week or so to get out of that mode of saying hi to everybody. And
it's a different atmosphere, because I don't know how it was for you, but coming from the areas that we come from, you always locked your door to the house. If you left your car, you locked your car doors. You didn't leave things like that open outside where the things could be easily stolen. And yet at Carolina, you didn't always have to lock your front door, or you didn't have to lock your car all the time.
Well, Mr. Katz, I'm from Parsippany, so you could leave the door open in Parsippany. You didn't have to worry about that.
All right, but even when I lived in Parsippany, I guess it was training from my youth. I did not leave things open, doors unlocked. Not all the time, of course. In the summer, you had screens on the doors, but it was just a more safety measure, I guess. I don't know how else to say it.
Another funny story. So I brought two of my classmates home for spring break my senior year, right? So Tracy and Billy. And so we're going through New York, right? And Billy's from New Bern, Tracy's from Winston-Salem. So we're going through, walking through Manhattan, and Tracy stops in the middle. Now, this is like a Friday night, like 10, 11 o'clock at night, like that kind of stuff, and the city can be a little bit busy. we were like near 46th Street because my dad worked at 46th Street and I was showing him my dad's office and we were walking, right? Just off Times Square. And in the middle, walking down the street, Tracy screams, "Where are the trees? Who would build a city with no trees?" And I never realized just how beautiful the trees and the scenery and the greenery were in North Carolina until I looked at I love Manhattan. Don't get me wrong. I love Manhattan. But I really developed another appreciation for it because I never really paid attention to the difference or the contrast from, you know what I mean? From being in the city with no trees or anything like that until she said that. That was just the wildest thing to me. I was like, oh my God, I'm like 20 years old and I never noticed that New York had very few trees.
Yes, no, you had to take him to Central Park.
Yeah.
No,
I used to roller skate in Central Park.
There's a difference. After I graduated, Carolina was playing at Madison Square Garden, and went in to see them play. I guess it was a doubleheader. It was Notre Dame and somebody in Carolina and Rutgers. There were, of course, Carolina fans there from Carolina. A lot of them come with the team, and one of the people from Carolina was so busy pointing at, called the usher over, and they pointed to some people down a little ways, and they said, "Smoking pot, they're smoking pot." And the usher kind of shrugged his shoulders and just like he was used to it. It was just a difference in the city and people from down there.
Yeah, it is beautiful down here. I
wanted to ask you. I love North Carolina. If I could have made a little better living down there as a teacher, I might have stayed.
Wow. Well, come on down. I wanted to ask you something. You played for McGuire, and then you played for Dean Smith.
Well, actually, the only coach that I played for on the varsity level was Coach Smith. Coach McGuire was the varsity coach. And as I said, when I was a freshman, freshmen could not play on the varsity.
Okay.
So my coach was an assistant known as, his name was Ken Rosemont, who was another assistant for Coach McGuire. So I really didn't play for Coach Smith until my sophomore year.
What was that like? Tell me a little bit about it. I heard that he ran a very organized ship, and I guess he gets that from, the military background.
He did. He ran everything on a tight schedule. You did something for a certain amount of time, and then you moved on to the next thing. And he had a schedule for the entire practice, and you'd spend so much time on an activity, on a skill, and then you'd move on to the next thing. And when he stopped an activity and called the group together, you better get there quick, and you better keep your mouth shut and listen to what he said.
Yeah. Well, like, he played on a championship team, so he he knew what it took to win, right?
Yeah. He was. You could tell he knew basketball. He knew what he was doing, and that he was gonna get there to the level he got to.
Yeah. So, based on some of the things that you learned from Coach Smith and that environment, were you able to take any of those skills and use that as a coach later on when you started to coach basketball?
Yeah. I as far as sticking with something for a set period of time and then moving on to there were things that I wanted to teach at the level I was teaching. And in order to do that, you had to stay focused, and you did need to keep within a certain time frame, or before you knew it, practice would be over and the kids would be going home for dinner.
Right. Did you also do that with Jared, or?
No, I was not, in a sense, Jared's. No, I did not interfere with him at Parsippany High School. Jared had once asked me to teach him basketball, and I said to him, that would be fine. I said, but if you want me to really teach you, you have to be serious about what we're going to do. And if you want to fool around, then we'll fool around. But if you want to learn, then you got to be serious and stick to it.
And so he was serious. I remember playing. He was serious. He was very good, very good. He wound up.
As you know, Jared was a pretty bright kid, and he once you showed him something, boy, he would just outthink you. He knew, he knew what to do on his own.
Wow. Yeah, I was teasing him my senior year. I was like, Jared, so don't you want to go to Carolina and be a Tar Heel like your dad? And he told me he was going to Princeton. I was so hurt because I really wanted Jared to go to UNC with me. And I thought he was going to go, because he was telling me about how he went to the basketball camps at UNC and had a chance to, I guess, meet Coach Smith or hear from Coach Smith or something like that. So, yeah, I wanted him to, I hoped he would go to Carolina.
I kind of would have liked it if he had gone to Carolina myself. But he thought he had a better shot of playing basketball at Princeton than he did at Carolina, I think.
Yeah, we talked, trust me, we talked about it. I wanted to ask, with one of the things that I work with kids on an academic level, and I've trained adults, I've trained franchise owners, people who purchase hotels, and I've taught at many different levels. And one of the key things to teaching, coaching, is to make sure that individuals are ready, because you can do all the coaching, you can do all the teaching, everything you want in the world. But like you said, if they're not serious or they're not ready, it's like this, right? It's like dead, right?
Yes.
What are some of the common factors that you see in readiness with when you were in college, Jared was in school, coaching Wayne Hills? What is there a common trend that you see that's either gotten, it has either exasperated or it's gotten, decreased significantly with regards to readiness, readiness, anxiety, whatever you may want to call it? What would you say?
The way I used to see it anyway is, you knew one of your players or a kid was ready to learn simply by their attitude, with the effort they put in. In most cases, it showed that way by their hustle and the things. And if they asked questions and if they listened to what you showed them, there were kids who you could show stuff to and they just couldn't or wouldn't do it. And there were others who couldn't. There were some talented kids who had the talent, but they didn't want to do it. And there were kids with less talent who wanted to do it and showed it. And it was, from a coaching point of view, it was easier to work with them. And then, of course, there were kids who would try, but just didn't have the talent. And then then it was a little tougher.
Yeah. As you said, that heart always gets me as far as people who really want it. So one of the things that I enjoy doing is I work with, people who aspire more, but sometimes they just have that little impasse that keeps them from getting to the next level. So I like helping them, coach, break down whatever that is to its finest point so that we can understand what it is, address it, and move forward. And one of the things that I would continuously hear from my students is a fear of failure. So they didn't want to do whatever the activity was. It could be gym, it could be math, it could be, and I love math, so you always have to want to do math. But then it could be gym, it could be math, it could be science, it could be anything. But the reason why they did not want to do it is because they did not want to fail in front of their friends. So, you know, there's already that pressure there for middle schoolers and high schoolers to fit in or to excel. So anything that's going to make it look like they don't fit in, they don't want to do it.
I can understand that, because I think I'm kind of like that myself. I have to force myself to do things sometimes in life that I'm afraid I might fail at, or somebody might laugh at me, or so I have to force myself to do it. So I can understand that particular point of view.
You think that's because you did so well in sports and you're used to doing well? Then you don't want to do anything less than extremely well?
In a way, yeah. It's a fair, you know, I went from, as a young kid, I was very interested in sports and basketball, baseball, and I did a lot of it myself, and that's how I improved. And then, of course, my coach in high school helped me improve. But I succeeded at those things because it was fun and I enjoyed it. And then the success I had in high school, people complimented me and treated me good. You know, they treated me nice, and so I really didn't fail, in a sense, till later on in life. And so once you've got that feeling, you don't want people laughing at you or failing because
criticizing you.
Yeah, and you don't. I'm kind of, I got, as a player in sports on a team, you get a little bit used to being criticized because the coaches will do that. Mm-hmm. So you kind of, you know, you take it as positive criticism. And of course, as a teacher, you can get positive criticism from someone who observes you teach, and you know, from a principal or a vice principal, someone like that. So you get it, but there's a fear of failure. You want to correct that, and you don't want to fail. So,
see, my parents, I'm an only child, so my parents would always just be like, explore and we'll figure it out as we go along the way. So my parents kind of, I won't say encouraged me to make the mistakes, but the mistakes were just like, mistakes were never big mistakes. So if I made a mistake, it was a mistake in that moment, in that time, and there's so many other moments afterwards.
Well, that's kind of how
So I always try to encourage my students and my peers to say, hey, look, you know what, embrace that it wasn't success, right? So don't kid yourself and say that it was success. If it wasn't, embrace how you feel about that particular item, but embrace it, realizing that it was just one moment. And there's so many more moments to go forward, so many more opportunities, so many different pathways.
Well, that's how I kind of was, you know, I never made, if you failed, I never made a big deal out of it with my players or Jared or my kids. It was like, oh, just work hard and do better. There'll be more opportunities. So you know, that's the way I kind of was. But for myself personally, it was different because neither of my parents graduated from high school.
Wow.
And they, you know, they could help me some because they were both pretty smart, but they never had the opportunity to graduate from high school. So it was it was a struggle for me, a learning that took a lot. And Lord knows, when I got to Carolina, I wasn't exactly prepared for college work. I had to really knuckle down and work hard.
Right. And so the things that you did in college, everything was a success or a victory to your parents because they didn't have that opportunity. So did you feel some pressure the simple fact that you were the first one to go to college, you've gotten this scholarship, did you feel some type of pressure to excel?
No, I didn't feel any pressure to excel academically.
Academically, I'm talking.
But I did want to graduate, and not waste the fact that I was there and able to get a good college education. Athletically, the only pressure came from within myself. I was very disappointed in myself that I couldn't have been more help the team more. That came from within me, and it was just pressure, like I said, that I put on myself.
So when did you feel like you might not be able to help the team more? When did the realization or the question start?
I get, well, when there's always a desire, at least on my part, I felt that I wish Coach Smith had given me more opportunity to play. I never thought I was a starter, but I thought I could have been more of a sub and played more and helped more. But I never felt that. I guess my sophomore and junior years, I was hoping that I would get that opportunity. By the time I was a senior, I guess you could say I was discouraged from that aspect.
So did you think you were going to play professionally when you thought you were going to play professionally possibly when you were a freshman, sophomore? When did you think?
Well, I guess, when I was a freshman, my sophomore year. But then when I saw I wasn't going to play that much my sophomore year, I was still hopeful, but the dream starts to fade a little bit. And then the brain said, you better quit fooling around academically and start cracking the books and make sure you get a degree from this.
As the dream started to set in as a reality that it might be deferred or delayed, what were people saying around you? Were you saying like, I might not fulfill my dream, and were people around you saying, keep going, you got it, or were they encouraging you to also look at something else?
When you say people around me, like I said,
teammates, your teammates, your girlfriend, your people from back home. Sometimes we push harder because of the people around us, even though.
I'm afraid I didn't get much encouragement athletically along the way. That was, most of that came from within me, and the effort came from within me. And even academically, no, I didn't get a whole lot of encouragement from anybody. I did start dating my girlfriend my junior year, and she gave me some emotional support, but otherwise it was all from within me.
Wow, it must be something about that junior year. So I went to Carolina. So when I was at Persephone, they were not, they weren't doing any type of interracial dating, and there were I think 16 African Americans. Well, I'm sorry. There were 2 African American guys that were dating women, Caucasian women, but none of the females were dating white men at that time or anything. So I never really dated anyone in high school, And when I got to college, my freshman year, I just felt like everybody was so far ahead of me in the dating game until I had my first boyfriend, like my first hold hands, walk down the street, do Valentine's Day cards and all the rest, call each other every night, my junior year of college.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
I was kind of like you in that In high school, I was all into sports. There were girls, someone would say, this girl likes you, or that girl likes you, but I really didn't date. I hardly went to parties. I was kind of, you could say, outwardly, I gave the impression that I wasn't shy. Inwardly, I was shy. And at Carolina, I didn't start actually dating till my junior year. And then I hooked up with one woman and went with her for 2 years, and we got married. So,
wow. Okay.
So it was a little, but I was kind of like you were just describing. I really barely. I had a couple dates in high school, not many. And my freshman and sophomore years at Carolina, nothing really.
Well, so. I didn't even do the dates, but let me ask you this: if you were to give, or as you give advice to your students, or before you retired, what would, if someone wanted to play in college, right? And you saw that the chances were getting less and less based on your experience of deferring, delaying, changing the dream, what are some words of advice that you would give to people to encourage them? Because I'm quite sure there are some students that you've coached that thought that they were going to get, be recruited by universities and receive a full scholarship or partial scholarship. And when it all happened, they didn't get it. Based on what you've been through, what would you say to encourage people?
Wow. I'm trying to think. I just, the kids that talk to me about that, I would say to them that from my own personal experience, I found that each level you moved up, it was a little bit harder, and that the competition got tougher and the skills got better. So if you had the dream of doing that, then you needed to work harder and improve your skills and keep the dream in your head and work from there. But you have to understand that it gets tougher. So you have to improve yourself, because if you don't, then it gets real tough. And I said, you could apply the same thing, whether it's in sports. I used to tell Jared, if you're smart, if you're good academically, and you work hard athletically, I used to tell him, you got the world in your hand. Mm-hmm. You can have pretty much have whatever you want if you do those things, but you got to work at it no matter what. A dream is, maybe my dream was to play professionally, but did I work hard enough? When I think back at it, I have to question, did I really want to achieve that dream, or was it just, oh, I think I'll be a professional athlete? Doesn't work that way.
Sacrifice.
Yes.
Sacrifice. Yes. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give up, long-term, short-term, to get to where you want to be,
Exactly. That's what I mean when I say you got to work harder and put the effort in and everything, but that's what it is. It's sacrifice. And you have to think of it in those terms, but and
you also have to think of it in the terms that, as you said, the competition gets different, but guess what? The competition is greater. I say all the time to my students, and even the people that I coach along the way, that you got to remember, when we were growing up, or, I was there when Noah built the ark. So I grew up a long time ago. I grew up with, well, anyway, I'm in my 50s. And when I was growing up, the competition was me and my neighbors, or the comparison was me, my neighbors. And if my parents got on the phone, me and my cousins academically, right? Nowadays, people are compared to not only their school or their community, but they're compared globally, right? Because if you think you've done, if you think you've done a great science project, you can get on the internet and find somebody who's doing, something similar, better, greater, or whatever. So I always try to help people be their personal best. Do you know what I mean? And realize what you're really willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to do. Because as long as you are your personal best, you should always feel validated. You can't be somebody else's best because there's always going to be, a boatload of people and a boatload of competition. But just be your personal best. And as Coach Smith was telling you, make sure that you're putting parameters around the timing that you're doing it. Allow yourself to put forth the best effort that you can during those specific time frames.
Yes. Yeah. Coach Smith was, he was very caring of all his players, and no matter whether you were a sub or you were a starter, he looked out for you. So
what about that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you keep going. You keep going.
I don't know what I was going to say, except that he did look out for you, and even over the years after I graduated, we would stay in touch, and I'd get something from him every once in a while, a letter, or I get the Carolina Blue book with a letter in it, and I think I told you when Jared went down into the basketball camp and he met Jared, I wasn't around, and he said some very nice things about me, and it was a quality thing to do. He could have said, "Oh, your daddy's a sub, what a bum," or something, but he didn't. He said quality things, which made Jared feel very good about his father, about me.
Yeah.
And so that was nice. And I think I also said, I don't know if I guess you probably would have heard. I don't know that after he passed away, his players got a letter saying that he left them a certain amount of money, and that was all of us. And I got the letter too, and everything.
Yeah.
And the check.
Jared showed me the letter with the check, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Wow, he gave your dad a check. I mean, your dad played him on his first team, his very first team." But like you said, Coach Smith honored or cherished all of his players. All of his players.
He did. That's that was always a nice thing, because there were some coaches that just used it, not at Carolina, but at other schools, where the players were just, once the eligibility was used up, that was goodbye. Wow. And it wasn't part, like at Carolina, as they said, they've always said, Carolina is a family. And Coach Smith was always, the patriarch of the family.
Do you keep in touch with any of your teammates?
I haven't anymore. No. I for a while, just after, yeah. But unless I see him at a reunion or something, no, not anymore. We're all kind of, I mean, when you think about when I played, that was over 50 years ago. I haven't seen, I did see years ago Larry Brown when he was coaching the Nets. I took Jared in and his friends, and we talked to Larry. And
wait, the Larry Brown?
Yeah.
Wait, did he coach the Knicks?
The Nets.
The Nets. Wait, with the gray curly hair?
Pardon me?
Wait, he had the short curly hair, the gray short curly hair? Wait, I'm trying to think who Larry Brown is. Wait 1 second. Keep going, because I was thinking of somebody else, but keep going.
All right, Larry Brown coached at UCLA. He coached at Kansas.
Okay.
He coached in the pros for a while with the Nets.
Wow.
And when Billy Cunningham was coaching the 76ers, the Philadelphia 76ers, after the game, I took Jared. We went down to we got back to where the locker rooms were, and I got a security guard to tell Billy that I was there. And he came out, greeted us, and Jared, he met him, and then he wound up, Jared sending a picture of Julius Erving and the 76ers and an autograph and stuff.
That is so cool.
But I haven't, other than the last time, a few years ago, we had a big reunion of players at Carolina. Coach Williams had this big, a big reunion at Carolina basketball. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's when I saw some of the people that I knew. But some of them, a couple of guys that I talked to and then have passed away. You know, getting up there in age. They were a little bit older than me. I'm 78, and they were a little bit older than me, and they're gone now. So,
all right.
But anyway, no, I don't stay in touch with them anymore.
Wow, I love hearing about the fond memories. I love hearing about the family environment, the support, and of course, Carolina is just beautiful. I mean, it's like its own little world. How beautiful UNC is. So, if you were to give us, 2-3 things about Carolina, 2-3 things. If somebody was looking at a school or looking at schools and they were wondering which schools to choose, you would say Carolina is, huh?
You can't go wrong going to UNC academically, people-wise, beauty. You can't go wrong going being on the Carolina campus and enjoying the beauty of North Carolina, the beauty of Chapel Hill. Great place. I taught school for a couple of years in Chapel Hill at the Guy B. Phillips Junior High. And like I said, I could have made a little more money and a little bit better on the benefits, I would have stayed in North Carolina.
Nah, then I wouldn't have met Jared. That wouldn't have been good. You weren't supposed to do that. Yeah,
maybe you would have met him. Maybe you would have been at UNC when you were then.
Well, now that would have been good. Good.
Who knows? So, maybe you could have walked down the main street of Chapel Hill holding hands. Who knows?
Street. I wanted to ask you, if Coach Smith were here today, right?
Yeah.
What do you think he would say to encourage people to go to Carolina? What do you think he would say about Carolina? Why did he love it so much?
Well, if you grew up in Kansas, you can understand why someone would love North Carolina. Kansas is pretty flat and dry. But I think he would, I think Coach Smith loved Chapel Hill. I mean, it was just, like I said, a beautiful place. And academically, it was a good school. And I know that that Coach Smith would be happy to see how the campus has been integrated and how things have changed along those lines from what it was when he first got there.
Well, he's the one that brought the change. But remember, he played the championship that he played on. What was it? Got Levan's. The 1952 nationalship team he played on for Kansas. had already integrated, and they had an African-American player, Lavarnes or something like that. I can't remember. And Coach Smith brought on Charlie Smith, who was the first African-American player for Carolina. So Charlie Scott. I'm sorry. Yeah, I told you I was there with Noah. So, I mean, my memory kind of goes now and then. I was building the ark. I'm still thinking ark. That's why I'm so sorry. But
join the club.
Yeah. But he did make a lot of strides at UNC. And I just remember when I was there, he was still coaching. And, the players just loved him.
Because he was quality. He was a quality coach. There were some coaches, as I said, that once your athletic eligibility is done, they don't care about you. Coach Smith cared about you. He made sure the guys went to their classes, got their work done. If you needed a tutor, you got a tutor. Which he did for me, and quite truthfully, it made me. Who knows if I would have graduated if it wasn't for him.
Wow.
So I always appreciated. I hated him for not playing anymore, but he was a good man. And that is something that as long as my mind is capable, I will not forget. Like I said, when my son went to his camp, he treated him as the son of a former player, like he's part of the family. And I won't forget that, ever. It's something that goes in your brain and you love. And, and especially since I wasn't a starter and a big shot, it's nice to be treated that way. And that's something I have tried to do. That's another that I have tried to do with my students and my players that I had throughout the years. The human beings, treat them decently, treat people decently, and they will, I think in general, they will respect you for that.
Everyone counts. When I worked for Marriott Hotels, the saying was, take care of the employees and they will take care of your guests. A lot of times people say, customer service, take care of your guests, take care of this, take care of your guests. Marriott believed in taking care of the employees. And if you take good care of employees, they will feel validated, self-confident, self-efficacy, to make the decisions and to go above and beyond for the guests. So, there's a lot to empowering individuals and just the niceties of life. Well, Mr.
Yes.
Katz, I just want to say thank you so much for everything. I'm so glad that I'm speaking to a fellow Tar Heel. My daughter went to that other school, NC State. And so it's so good whenever I can see and be around light blue. So, I'm sorry, my daughter and like majority of my family went to, but my cousins went to NC State. So it's always good when I can be around that Carolina blue.
Well, do they still call NC State? We used to call them Cow College.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. The only thing that I know is my daughter does that wolf pack thing, with her hand. You know how they do the wolf pack thing with their hand, whatever it is. I'm not going to do it, whatever. And
that must be something. That must be something new since I was there.
Well, they do this wolf thing, and I'm like, gosh, I wish UNC could have like a UNC thing. I'm always doing the U, the N, and the C, and I probably don't even do that right. But I wish we had like a quick hand signal to just, do the Carolina thing when they started doing that wolf pack thing. But anyway. But once again, like I said, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you so much for plugging through and pushing through with the whole Zoom thing and everything else. So
well, thank you for your patience, and I hope some of what we talked about could be helpful to you. Everything is.
So I'll see you at the either the next reunion or the reunion after that. But I'll meet you at Carolina's reunion.
All right, someday might happen.
All right. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for everything.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
All right. I'll call you as soon as we have the video. I'll call you right back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.